The Joe Rogan Experience.
First of all, I think it's amazing that no one's talked you into doing MMA. It's incredible.
I've been close.
How close?
But mostly the lady outside, my wife, Lauren.
Really?
Is the one that's talked me out of it.
Really?
Yeah, bro. Like, when I graduated from college in 2011, University of Nebraska, wrestling was still on the brink of, if it was in its infancy of marketing and branding and really making it a professional career. So MMA was the new kid on the block, and it was growing and expanding. And we had a lot of our guys transitioning in. Henry Cejudo, Ben Askren, Daniel Cormier. And so I really thought about it. I was like, okay, I'm going to wrestle in the Olympics in London 2012, win the gold, and then I'm going to make the transition to MMA. I'll be 25 years old. I'll have plenty of time. And then I met Lauren. And she's like, listen, you're doing well in the sport. Stay here. You're comfortable. It's just a different sport, MMA, in comparison to wrestling. But it's a good thing.
It is a different sport, and it also has a lot more head trauma. And there's a lot of things to consider.
100%. That's what I think about all the time. Listen, I think about going to MMA until I see a guy like Platinum Mike Perry get his whole thing split, nose crooked. I'm like, I'm good. It's like in wrestling, you lose, you get taken down, pushed out, you get pinned. In fighting, you lose, you get something broken, choked out, tap. It's unconscious. It's a very, very different sport. Wrestling, you score as many points as possible, doing the least damage as possible. And MMA, I feel like it's different.
It's a shame that there's not more attention put on the professional, like at one point in time, professional wrestling was actual wrestling.
Yeah.
It wasn't like WWE entertainment. It was professional wrestling, and it was done for. Why can't they do that? I know they tried to do that a few years back. There was an organization, I think. Was it Kevin Jackson that was doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing something where he was doing a professional wrestling organization, but it just didn't catch on for some reason. But yet, golf is on TV.
For sure.
Baseball and all these things that are...
Bags, bro. Yeah. Cornhole. I was watching the Cornhole Championships on ESPN the other day. I'm like, bro, this is wild. Like, Cornhole is on ESPN more often than wrestling.
But isn't that just now because there's no crowds and COVID and there's all the weirdness and there's a lot of shit that's on. Like if you follow Sports Center on Instagram, like half the shit they do is like people in their backyard like doing crazy dunks and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think the invention of the internet has definitely changed the game for our sport. We are in an epic time where anyone can be famous. All you need is an iPhone, cell phone, period. Like, if you can film footage and upload it and it's funny, it's inventive, it's disruptive, like, you have an audience and people are going to follow it. So people that are going viral now and becoming superstars aren't even the most particularly talented people in society. They just have a niche and they know how to stay consistent with it.
Well, sometimes it doesn't even make sense. Like something just catches. Like, remember the dude that was on the skateboard doing Fleetwood Mac?
Cranberry juice.
Yeah. Like, just for whatever reason, everybody's like, that guy looks like he's having
fun. Get this man a truck. Get him more cranberry juice.
And now he's on. He's always on podcasts. He's all over the place.
He's a man.
He bought a house. He bought a car. I mean, it's really incredible.
But that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it, is it gives people an opportunity. There it is right there. Yeah. So it was a professional wrestling league that they established. And, when people reference what we do, I call it Olympic wrestling. Honestly, I don't even call it professional wrestling because that is kind of an ode to the WWE and old-time WWF. So it's a unique thing that we had at this time. This is Tommy Rollins, Daniel Cormier, both extremely competitive, both great wrestlers, Oklahoma State, Ohio State. This probably was around 04, 05-ish. So I was still in high school. Real Pro Wrestling, that's right. So they had different cities across the country that had their own teams. It was almost like XFL-esque. It kind of had that vibe. And
that's Rulon Gardner.
Yeah, Rulon Gardner.
And who's the...
Tim Johnson in the middle. He works for the Big Ten Network and also for ESPN. He does commentary for the NCAA championships yearly. And then the last guy is Nate Carr, who was a NCAA champ, world medalist.
And Rulon is another guy that made the transition. He made the transition to MMA.
Did he? I didn't know that.
Yeah. He fought a bunch of times over in Japan. And actually,
that's crazy.
I think what stopped him was he lost a toe in a frostbite accident.
He's a former Cornhusker.
Is
so
he?
we went to the same university, and I got a chance to kind of spend some time with Rulon, but he was out when I was kind of transitioning in. And so he's an interesting cat, and he is one of those guys that's like shrouded in this mystery, but there's so many like epic stories about who he was, what he's done, how much he's eaten.
He's a gorilla, dude.
Massive,
in real life,
massive
you
man.
see the size of that guy?
Massive man. And then obviously him beating Karelin, which is pretty much considered the most legendary victory in wrestling history.
That's a weird victory, right? Because it's like Karelin, all he did was get Karelin to break his grip.
Yeah.
And it was a new rule, right?
Yep. The rules are evolving all the time in wrestling. So it's one of those rule changes that year in particular, which it didn't translate well to the average fan. So like the toughest thing about wrestling is that the rules change so often that a non-traditional wrestling fan can't really keep up. You watch a football game, listen, you put the ball into the end zone, it's 6 points, extra point, a point, field goal, 3 points, right? Safety 2. You watch basketball, if you're behind this arc, it's 3 points. If you're within it, it's 2 points. In wrestling, there's so many different subjective rule sets that you're like, okay, well, if you unlock your hands here, or if this guy gets pushed out of bounds, it's a point. But if you shove him out of bounds, it's no points. If he's grounded, it's no points. But if his knee's off the mat, then it's a point. So there's so many different like little nuances in the sport that make it difficult to follow. And even if you're within it, like sometimes you have to address what the rule set is before you even compete in a tournament. There are times where we're meeting with administration and referees before we compete at the Olympics, World Championships, just so we can stay current on the rule set for that year, because it's just that much, always evolving.
Is that something that plays in your head while you're actually competing? Do you have to think like, oh, wait a minute, what's the rule for this place?
That's a good question. I think in the heat of the moment, sometimes I imagine you've seen it a lot in MMA, whether it's a guy, hitting someone in the back of the head, or kicking them when they're down on a knee, like all these little things that when you're in the battle and you're fired up and you're trying to put this man out, like you don't even think about the rule set. You just, it has to be programmed. I think experience, just multiple times within this position, there's a certain level of savviness and mental toughness that you have to get there.
Catch new episodes of the Joe